So I am very excited to invite our guests this evening for our program, Businesses Taking Action, What Should We Support? We have speaking tonight 4 different people. In a minute, Gabriela Safay will start. She's the project designer, and so she'll share her vision and ideas. And then Constance Palaia will be next. She is representing Motel Del Rogue. Then Ann Carter with Medford Food Co-op, and then Aaron Douglas with Banyan Botanicals. So at this time, we'll stop sharing, and Gabriela will let you go ahead and start.
Thanks, Kathy. Hi, everyone. My name is Gabriela. I am a student at Oregon State University. I'm studying political science and sustainability. And about a year ago, I linked up with SOCAN as an intern, working with Kathy and Alan. And I decided to make this project that I called Businesses Taking Action. And I created it because I'm really interested in what businesses can do to prevent environmental harm, especially because, as we see, corporations are one of the biggest contributors to a lot of the harms that we're facing right now. So that's a big focus of mine. And I talked to Alan and Kathy, and we decided to make a project that focused locally on the businesses in the Rogue Valley, so we can showcase what businesses here are doing in terms of environmental and social action. And it's also a way to inspire other businesses to get involved with taking action if they're not already. So I created a survey. It's a 2-part survey focusing on environmental action and social action. And I modeled it based off of what a lot of different business certifications are already doing. So I looked into B Corporation, Fair Trade, Certified Organic, other things like that. And I basically combined all of those and came up with some of my own questions that I thought were the most important in order to model what businesses are doing and how they're taking social and environmental action. So this survey that I created was then sent out to a bunch of local businesses, and some of the presenters that you're going to be hearing from tonight are the ones that we felt were doing a really great job at implementing environmental and social action into their business models. Yeah, so that is a little description of the project and where we got started, and then I'll pass it off to Kathy, and soon you'll get to hear from some of the businesses.
Thank you very much, Gabriela. And if you have questions for Gabriela or anybody that's speaking, just put them in the chat and we'll go through the questions as we get to the end. So next, what we did is we selected 3 of the businesses that are on the website that did the survey. And we're going to have those people share a little bit. And we also have a few of the other businesses that are listed, and at the end we will recognize them as well. So go ahead, Constance, if you want to share, and you need to
Hi, and thank you for having me. I'm Constance Palaia, and my husband Kevin Marr, daughter Sylvia Marr, and I have owned the Motel Del Rogue for 21 years now. Before I tell you a little bit about us and our motel, I want to gratefully acknowledge the Native peoples on whose ancestral homelands we live for their care and stewardship of the river and land since time immemorial, and whose wisdom can teach us so much. These peoples, Tekelma, Tolawa Dini, and Cow Creek Umpqua, are still here, despite Euro-American colonization that brought disease, genocide, and broken promises. We believe that all land is Indigenous land. Kevin fell in love with hospitality a long time before we were married. He managed the bachelor billeting at Camp Pendleton, and I owned a textile design studio in Seattle. Sylvia was born in 1999, and he really wanted to own something of his own. So we looked from Tijuana to Vancouver, BC for someplace we could raise a family and afford. So this was it. There was an ad in the LA Times for a little vintage resort on the Rogue River. And we answered it and ended up buying it. We sold our houses, mine in Seattle and his in California, and still came up short with the down payment and put it on a credit card. And we didn't realize, I thought I'd walk around in a polo shirt and khaki pants and greet guests and garden and raise my daughter. And this place was built in 1936, and we had no idea what we were getting into. The property is almost 2 acres on the Rogue River. It sits so close to the river that it flooded majorly in 67, I think was that big flood. And that's probably when it was remodeled last. The carpets were that red shag and the curtains were vinyl orange. It was really a trip. So I put a lot of furniture up on the road and we tore out the carpets, but we had no idea that most of what we did was going to be plumbing, electricity, roofing, things that don't show and that, guests don't notice unless the roof is leaking. The garden beds, the first thing we did actually consciously, environmentally, was stop using all of the pesticides and herbicides and weed killers and all of those things that the people before us had used. And we stopped pumping water out of the river. They were using it to do laundry, of all things. It was interesting. There were plastic flowers in the flower beds, and now we have perennials and natives and herbs, and it's really pretty different. But that made a big difference. We noticed birds and butterflies just increasing over the years. And we know that made a huge difference, and it certainly did to the river. We have beavers and otters, muskrats, foxes, skunks, raccoons, and deer. So we can see some change. We're always catching up on our infrastructure. Like I said, the stuff that doesn't show but costs a fortune. My daughter just took the duct tape off her ceiling this year because we were able to replace a roof. This year, we also finished doing on-demand hot water heaters for every room and are slowly installing ductless mini splits. That it's slow. We've never had a year when we didn't think that we might lose this place because we couldn't afford to do the things that needed to be done. We've insulated one building. It's a few buildings. It's that old 30s kind of design that sort of looks like cabins, cedar decks on the river. It's really quite lovely, but it's cold. And there's a variety of heating sources that from those gas heaters and the kind that had the heater in the floor, that the waffle grate and baseboards. It's really something. So insulating, all our lighting is LED. Finding amenities that weren't plastic was really difficult. And we finally found some that are European, so it costs a lot of money to get them, but they're packaged in cardboard. All our cleaning supplies, we use concentrate and refill, and they're biodegradable and VOC free. We recycle all the stuff from the rooms that we possibly can. There's a lot we'd like to do, and it's just, it's difficult to know. So these things are little, but we hope they make a difference. We'd love to explore doing some kind of hydropower. We'd like to insulate everything. We'd like to put in new windows. But I don't know, I don't know how you do that except slowly over time. And that's what we've done. We do a pretty good job with social justice and action in our community. When we moved here, we had some real concerns about Grants Pass in Southern Oregon because we'd heard stories. I knew the racist history of Oregon, and it scared me, and it befuddled me, and I was afraid to raise a child here. And in hindsight, I realized I'd never lived in a place that was so white and so conservative. All it did was make me more active and less complacent. My husband ran for state rep in 2004 as a Democrat, and he didn't win, but he did it. He's in Rotary, and he serves on the budget committee for the schools. I served on the board of Planned Parenthood, the Unitarian Universalists of Grants Pass. I'm on their board, some schools foundations. I started a peace house in Grants Pass when we invaded Iraq, and I work as a restorative justice facilitator in Medford. I was the chair of the Democratic Party for a while, so we did get very active in our community, and I feel pretty good about that. I just was chosen to serve on the Democratic Party of Oregon's Racial Equity, Accountability, and Leadership Committee, which I'm really proud of. We're an active member of the Main Street Alliance, which is a small business advocacy organization. In 2007, I took another job because I wanted to. I'm an elementary school librarian, and I'm still there. I got to watch my daughter go to school and grow up. She graduated from college this year with a politics, law, ethics, and public policy major. So I feel really like I make a difference in my community with my job. I teach, I can let kids see things that they maybe never would see through books and stories. We also make it clear that we're a welcoming property. We don't know for certain, but we feel like many of our guests find us through word of mouth networking. We have guests who are Black and brown and queer and trans, and probably wouldn't be welcomed at any other property in Grants Pass. We're serious about nurturing a relationship of reciprocity with our guests. We've never taken a credit card guarantee from a guest. We felt like, what's the point? I mean, we would never penalize somebody because they had a flat tire or couldn't make it. Just didn't make sense. And that's the way we run our business. Our tagline is sincere hospitality on the banks of the Rogue River. And a lot of people ask us about our welcoming signs and Black Lives Matter signs. Don't we worry about losing business or getting hurt? And we made a conscious decision to live our values here and have sincere hospitality and to take care of the land and the river, where we feel like we're really short-term uninvited guests ultimately. But thank you. I hope you learned something about us and our business.
Thank you, Constance. Thank you very much. And people who are watching, if you have questions, don't hesitate to put those in the comments, or if you have ideas for Constance. So we're going to go next to Anne from the Medford Co-op. If you want to unmute yourself, Anne, and go ahead.
Okay, sure. Thank you. And thanks for inviting me, Kathy and Alan and SOCAN group. So I'm Ann Carter, General Manager at Medford Food Co-op in Medford. And I would say that at the co-op, I think, the biggest difference from us in a conventional grocery store is that we do have values that affect our operations and also our ends. Our ends are what we call our big goals that we're working towards. And these are, I'll just, read a couple of them. Our ends are that Medford Food Co-op exists to sustain a vibrant, healthy community and a thriving local organic food economy. And as a sustainable and growing business, Medford Food Co-op provides economic, environmental, and social benefits for the Rogue Valley. And I think these are, well, some years I feel like it will take forever to get to these ends. Some years we make some progress, but they do guide our day-to-day operations, events that we take part in, outreach that we do. And every year I report to our owners our progress in these areas. So I thought I'd just give you a few highlights from the report I did this spring on how we were working towards those goals last year. And last year was a particularly challenging year. So looking at the first one, growing a thriving local organic food economy, and that's a big goal. But we partner with a couple other organizations, basically to promote, raise awareness of local organic food, to support it. So you might be familiar with the Rogue Valley Flavor Guide that the Rogue Valley Food System Network publishes. But we're a sponsor of that and help them publish that and distribute it. A couple of years ago, we were part of a task force that worked with Travel Oregon to create the Rogue Valley Food Trail, another way that highlights and promotes local food businesses. We also work with the Ashland Food Co-op and again, the Food System Network to put on the farm tour. I think we're in about, this year was our third or fourth year that we did it. And last year, we couldn't hold a farm tour because of the pandemic. So we said, well, we'll do a virtual tour instead. Several of our staff and Ashland staff worked together to do interviews and videos from, I think, about 11 different farms, ranches, and food producers. And we created a whole website on it. So that was an interesting way to bring the farm tour to people when people couldn't go to the farm tour. But we were able to have it this year. And I think we had 23 farms and ranches, food producers that participated. And lots of people. It's hard to guess, but it was very, people were happy to get out and visit the farms. So it's just one way that we try to help promote the farms so that people know when you go in the store, when you go to a farmer's market, oh, these carrots came from this farm, and they raising that awareness. Benefiting the community, building a healthy community. That was also challenging last year. I think one of the things that early on we struggled with was shutting down all of the self-serve, and that included bulk department initially. And for a co-op, our bulk department is part of our core value of purchasing food with less packaging and waste, and just purchasing what you need. You don't need a whole jar of something, you purchase just a little bit. So that we struggled with that. And initially, we didn't shut down our bulk department, we staffed it. So if you came in as a customer, like you didn't get to fill your own bulk containers and stuff, we did that. That was a lot of work. Wasn't sustainable in the long term. So after several months, we reset our bulk department and basically purchased a bunch more gravity feed bins so that people could fill their own bags without touching the food. Those spice jars we all turned into pourable ones. We put different lids on so you don't scoop it. Yeah, those aren't we're still using those. Some people prefer the scoops, but we were trying to work out so that the bulk department could be, people could serve themselves in it and that we didn't have to shut it down because we think that's really important. So we've been able to, we were able to make it work and we're happy about that. We started an online shopping program for people who were immunocompromised, elderly, or just didn't really feel comfortable being in a small store around a lot of other people. And we've continued that to this day. That took, well, if you know our store, it's small. The back rooms are even smaller than the store. So there isn't really a place like to stage a big shopping, where people are going to order online and then pick up later. We just don't have the space. So we did what we could. And there's been, I would say probably upward, a dozen to 24 people who for the past year have continued to order online and then pick up. So it was what we could do with our limited space. Think another way we've been able to help support the community, other local nonprofits, is through the positive change that we do at the registers. And in addition to shopper contributions, the co-op also supplies mini grants. Last year through that program, we donated just over $35,000 to local organizations. And in addition to that, as the fires happen, we're trying to figure out, okay, well, how can we help support the people who were displaced by the fires or who are fighting the fires? Initially, we just made some food and sent it over to the expo center. We also delivered sandwiches to a couple of the firefighters, what are those called there, command headquarters. It was a small thing, but I think it helped people feel like, oh, we're not alone in this. There's other people in the organization who are in the community who are supporting us. I would say economically, the way that we contribute to the community is that because we're a locally owned business, by consumers in our community, all of the profits that we earn stay local, where they go to employ a group of people who live, right here. There's not an administrative office off somewhere in some big city, that we're paying large salary to. Everybody's right here in Medford. And I also think the people who are owners of the co-op and who shop there, they're able to share in that economic benefit too. Because as we're successful and are able to return a patronage dividend, but even in years when we don't, they still get additional coupons and deals to encourage them to shop. What else? Oh, and then environmental benefits. Got lost where I was. For years, in every April and September, we work with some other organizations to facilitate the Bear Creek Stewardship days. And those are volunteer efforts to clean up along the Bear Creek, the Greenway. And it started out, we were just doing that in Medford. But in recent years, we've been able to expand it. So we have people on those days working from Central Point all the way to Ashland. So, you know, kind of around Phoenix and then around Talent and then also in Ashland. So it's really grown a lot. And I think it helps people get out there and first of all, experience the Greenway and see what's out there. And see that it's really good resource that connects all these communities. So that is, so one of the environmental things that we do, that's a big one. I would say encouraging customers to use disposable or reusable bags and containers in our cafe, to trying to find ways that we can eliminate plastic has been challenging. Prior to the pandemic, we had switched, we had gotten rid of all the plastic utensils and switched entirely to metal. So even if people took it with them, like we just said, oh, next time you come back, just bring it in. Well, so we kind of fell backwards last year in switching back to disposables, but are planning to get back into using the metal silverware again. And again, in the store too, there was a period of time last year where we were using more disposable bags and not having people bring in their own containers. But since then, we've gone back to letting people bring in their own containers, use reusable bags, anything that we can do along those lines to help reduce the waste, packaging waste. Yeah, so those are kind of the highlights. And yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you very much. We're going to move next to Erin. And so Erin's going to go ahead and share screen. And if you are representing one of our other businesses taking action, would you put a note in the chat about that so people can see you're here? So go ahead, Erin.
Do you all see my presentation? Yes. Okay. Can you see me? Hi, everyone. Thank you, Anne and Constance. It was so lovely to hear what you're up to. I want to first just quickly introduce myself. I'm Erin. I live in Talent. My house was spared in the fire last year, but my neighborhood was not. I just became Banyan Botanicals full-time just this week, social and environmental responsibility manager. Yet for about 4 years, I was Banyan's first social environmental responsibility champion, as I called myself. Really curious, asking lots of questions about our values and how our actions align. And I finally, you see today, just this week, or actually formally on Friday afternoon, locked in a full-time social environmental responsibility manager role. So I just thought that might be important to know as we get started. And I have several slides. I'm going to move really fast since we don't have time, so forgive me, but these are slides I already prepared for previous meetings. So I just thought I'd breeze through them really quickly. So one of my mantras is progress, not perfection, because we can get stuck and overwhelmed. And I just want to start with that. And one of my favorite quotes, you all have probably heard this before. It's by Buckminster Fuller. We are called to be the architects of the future, not its victims, right? Because this work is hard, and climate change is real. And so I like to kind of root in that almost every day, because I feel like constantly that I'm not doing enough, that we're not doing enough. And I think we probably all feel that way. So with that said, let's move on and get started. About Banyan, we manufacture and sell herbal products. This picture is some of the products we sell. We have like 300 SKUs, maybe more now. We are 98 employees. We have several main hubs here in Ashland. We have a farm in Williams, Oregon, where we grow, the picture on the bottom. And our main manufacturing warehouse and shipping is in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where we were founded 25 years ago before moving to the Rogue Valley, I think about 15 years ago. So just for perspective, this really busy slide was something I had to ground. It was all going on in my head. And the question was, what is our social and environmental responsibility superpower? Like how does our mission, our DNA, our values, the principles of Ayurveda, all of that, how does that align? And so, the main thing here is, I hope you can see my cursor is, we're really focused on the health of the people and social health and also planetary health. And so this helps me to sort of guide what we do at Banyan. We're organic. We're really concerned about plant species and sustainability and conservation. We're members of the United Plant Savers. We're really interested in ethical wildcrafting. A couple of our products are Fair Wild certified. We're working on getting more certified. And then, focusing energy on reducing waste, energy use. A big struggle for us and for a lot of consumer packaged goods is eco-friendly packaging. And we've probably devoted, I would say, well over 500 hours of research, classes, studies, collaboration in this area. And it's a big struggle for us. One of the things we're considering in the next 6 months is adding on a carbon-friendly checkout onto our website. So our primary business model is direct to consumer sales on our website. We do have a small store in Ashland, and it's called Siskiyou Ayurveda, and we do Ayurvedic health massage and different modalities there as well. We're considering, and we hope to become 1% for the planet, and that helps us guide our donations through environmental nonprofits. We're also really interested in nature-based climate action, including regenerative agriculture at our farm. Right now, we're doing no-till farming and crop covering, and it's such a small farm, we can't really let the farm rest so much, but we're looking at that, and we have devoted some time and some finances into scientific research here. So we're collaborating with others in the regenerative agriculture field to actually kind of measure our soil health and learn how we can do more. And I'm going to go ahead and move on. I love what Anne and Constance said. They talked about mission and values alignment. We have 5 core values. These are the 2 core values that align with carbon action. It's always important to remember, why are we doing this? Well, these values have been written since day one, 25 years. We believe in the sanctity of nature, and we want to be fiscal, social, and environmental responsible. And I want to share this slide because there's an amazing collaborative that it's called the Climate Collaborative, and they provide a framework for climate action in the natural products industry. And they've been a huge resource for me as I learn as a small team. Even though we have 95 employees, we're still technically called an SME, a small to medium-sized enterprise, and we don't have budgets for consultants and things. And the leaves here represent the core areas where we're focusing our action in agriculture and energy efficiency, renewable energy, forestry with some projects in India where we source, and packaging are our main areas of focus. And we've made some public commitments on this website as well. And so this is a really cool site if anyone's interested in checking out the Climate Collaborative. We're also a B Corp. So I championed us through B Corp certification. I don't know how I did it part-time. Now I'm like, how did that happen? We were smaller then. but this is our score. When we certified, there was 4 key areas: governance, workers, community, and environment. There's also another one that was added, and it's customers. So how do we steward our customer relationships? And of course, we're here to talk about climate action and environmental responsibility. So I pulled out the main environmental section just so you could see how they kind of grade us. And the main thing here is this area, we earned the most points, as you can see, for almost 15 points for being an organic certified. All of our products that can be organic are organic, with the exception of salt and a few minerals. So we are B Corp, and this is our public page here. This is a question I pulled out of the B Corp assessment just for fun, to show you some of the stuff that we look at. And it's not our current answer, but you can see on the bottom here that it shows the points earned. And this is a question about an environmental management system, an EMS, if you haven't heard that term. And it's a set of processes, practices that enable an organization to reduce its environmental impacts and increase its operating efficiency. And I won't really go on, but I've set up an EMS. If there's time, I'll just show you how I set it up just briefly in an internal project management system that we use. And it really holds all of our activity, and we can assign tasks out and follow up. And it's quite a cool way to make progress and stay organized. Our big thing that we did in 2022 is we did our scope 1 and scope 2 carbon mapping. And this was on our to-do list for a long time, but I wanted to share this because it can feel so overwhelming. And yet in the end, it wasn't that big of a deal to do. And so I know that most of us here have probably done our individual carbon mapping, but how do we do it for a big company? And it is required as a B Corp that we do this. So I love that they hold us accountable, because otherwise, honestly, it might not happen. And so we understand that we first must measure our emissions, and then take action from there. And we our stakeholders were asking us about this. So there was pressure from our customers, our employees, and then, just the community. We use the data to baseline. We just measured this year. And then of course we will benchmark now and improve. Okay, I'm getting the bell. Can I have like 2 more minutes? Okay, small team, me and a customer service rep, resources for free as a part of the B Corp community. There's lots of resources. We had to decide what we're going to measure. This is how we measure. We tracked all of our energy in a spreadsheet. This is how our scope 1 and 2 results. We use a free South Pole calculator. And then the really cool thing is how do you interpret this? So this is how we educate our employees and ourselves. The EPA equivalency calculator. And then this part shows the avoided and the sequestered. So this helps us here to take action, which is really cool. And then I won't spend too much time here. Reducing renewables, packaging, scope 3. We're looking at employee travel. We're adding a customer shipping, a carbon neutral checkout. We're looking at our supply chain and using some fancy tools. But what I'm really excited about is these inset projects, nature-based programs. We're looking at certifying our farm, and we're looking at using a geo footprint tool that measures the carbon and the heat, which is really cool. We're looking at a partnership with Bee Girl, who you all might know, and building out a regenerative bee pasture on the farm. Our supply team, some of them are in India, and we're looking at agroforestry projects there. And as I mentioned, carbon neutral checkout. So that's my presentation, y'all. That felt really fast. I hope it was helpful.
Go ahead, Ellie.
Yeah, hi everyone. I've been kind of monitoring the chat questions here, and wow, it's so cool to hear in this presentation all of these really different types of businesses, and hearing what you're doing. It's really neat to see, how we're all in different stages of environmental sustainability, social justice, carbon neutrality, but we're all kind of working towards the same goals in our community and beyond. So this is really exciting. I'm really happy to have the opportunity to be here tonight. So we do have a few questions here in the chat, and we'll go through those. And if we have a couple minutes, maybe if you have some questions that are still rattling around in your brain, go ahead and put them in the chat. And if we don't get to them tonight, we'll make sure that you get those answers in an email after tonight. But yeah, just keep the questions coming. So the first one that we have here was from Kathy. Yeah, has anybody commented on, this is a question for all of the presenters tonight. Has anyone commented on your being on the SOCAN Businesses Taking Action page?
Not yet. I did talk to a reporter though, and I'm trying to get her to cover this for y'all. So hopefully it will happen.
Yeah,
not yet.
neat. Well, if you have ideas too about how we can kind of get the word out more and use that to tell people about your great businesses, let us know as well. It's definitely an evolving project here that Gabriela started, which was awesome. The next question, I just had a question about especially, so some of you are business owners and some of you are employees. What would be some advice that you could give to somebody maybe who's not a business owner but is working in a business and kind of sees opportunities to take some of these environmental and social justice actions? What kind of advice would you give to somebody who really wants their place of work to kind of get involved in some of these things that you are all up to?
I think if an employee can first of all connect it to values and mission and why it's important, I think that's the first step. And the second step is to put it on paper. Who are the key stakeholders? What's the estimated time commitment and what's the value on one sheet, and take it in and present it in a passionate way. I think it's going to be hard to say no.
Yeah, and I would say too, if a person, is employed and they have an idea, to start out sharing the idea with somebody else that might be able to do something about it. And Aaron's suggestion for having it on paper is good. At our store, we've adopted ideas that people have presented. Just like basically if they can say, oh, hey, I have this idea and here's how you can implement it, or I'll help you implement it. That's helpful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I did want to bring a little attention to Bex Walker's in this meeting, and she wanted to bring up the Rogue to Go program, where you can have a reusable container, and there are certain businesses, it's in the chat here, there's a link to the website where you can bring your container in and swap it out with a clean one and get your to-go order in there instead of using disposable materials. So if you haven't checked that out in the chat, please take a look. I know it'd be really great to get a lot more local restaurants in on that as well. So thank you for bringing that up and putting that in the chat. Yes, so Kathy had a question for Anne here. How does the co-op model compare to B Corp requirements?
Well, I think the co-ops, since we are guided by 7 principles, that kind of is similar to B Corp. So these are things like voluntary and open membership, democratic member control, member economic participation, autonomy and independence, education, training and information, cooperation among cooperatives, and concern for community. So I think because we have those guidelines, that's a start. But as we, like I said before, we have some bigger goals that we're trying to track. And as we are trying to make an social, environmental, and economic impacts in the community, then we try to say, well, how could we make improvements? And Aaron had some showed how their company is tracking like their carbon footprint and stuff like that, and trying to reduce it. So we've tried to do that too, as we set out and say, well, here's what we're using in utilities. And if we want to have an environmental impact for improvement in our area, how can we reduce these numbers? So probably addressing it in a systematic way, but perhaps not quite as rigorously as in the B Corps.
Great, thank you for that clarification. Liz wanted to know, Aaron, what is carbon neutral checkout? And I think you are muted, Aaron.
Thank you. You're right. I'm going to just share my screen because I have a slide right here in anticipation of that question. Basically allows a customer online to, this is an example. So it could be a Banyan product here, and you just offset the purchase, and it rounds up, it's pennies, 16 cents basically for $10. And it's obviously voluntary, so they can choose to offset. We're also, I have another meeting tomorrow with another company, but we're also considering setting up our own offset checkout where we can help fund some more local projects, because most of these projects allow a customer to pick an international project in Africa or something that's not necessarily so related to our own business. And so we're really interested in those inset projects, like how do we impact our own supply chain by setting up a compost or regenerative ag in India or on our own farm. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe that's a part 2 SOCAN meeting and I can share at a future meeting, but that's one of the things I'm most excited about for this year.
That's neat. I love that idea. Thank you. Just going down the chat here, I want to recognize Erin O'Kelly-Muck and her business, web design agency business. And she has her website here. She's also part of the SOCAN Businesses Taking Action. So please check her out. And thank you for being here tonight, Erin. I have a question here for Gabriela. What are your thoughts about how this project worked out, and did it bring the results that you expected?
I don't think I had any specific results that I was expecting to see when I started the project. I'm super happy with the way that it's worked out so far and the businesses that have been involved. I would definitely like to see more business participation. And that I think has been the most challenging part, just to get people to fill out the survey. And I think it's really important to remember that even if you're not doing all of the things, you can still take the survey and still be working towards some of the goals that we have set. So yeah, that's my general thoughts. It's been kind of challenging because my internship ended, so I've kind of moved on from working on the project a lot. So it's kind of just hanging out there right now, but it'd be awesome to see it gain more momentum.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so I just put a link in the chat, and that's for information about this project. And I believe there's a flyer there that you could print or send. So spread the word, and if you have ideas for businesses, feel free to talk to those businesses, or if you'd like to reach out to us, you could put some ideas in the chat here if you have ideas of businesses that you think would be good for us to reach out to, or yeah, so let us know how we can get the word out there. And let's see here. I had thought I had another question. I think yeah, Aaron, do we have a second here? Kathy, for Bex and Aaron, maybe to have a couple words about their businesses if they'd like to share.
Yeah, I think we could, if you can just share the business you represent and just keep it short, but let us know about it. Go ahead, Bex.
Thank you. Yeah, Rogue to Go. It's run by a non-profit, Be the Change Rogue. And it's run by a group of us volunteers. So not a business as such, but we are working across the Rogue Valley with businesses. It's about eliminating single-use food to go packaging. So we've created a system that's very accessible, that's tailored for a more rural communities. We've seen these things spring up in New York and Portland and in European cities, but not for such the rural communities here. And so we've tailored it where it's $10 and then you are bought in for life as a customer. Businesses, we got a group of businesses when we had a grant from the DEQ as a pilot, and we've now doubled that. So we started off with 5 businesses and we now have 10 businesses across the Rogue Valley. And we're always looking for more. We've had recently donations and a significant non-interest loan from a community member. So we were able to purchase more reusable containers and brand them Rogue to Go. And we're just hoping that restaurants will join so we can get them out there across the Rogue Valley. It's for businesses. We do sponsorship packages where a community member might like to sponsor a business joining, or the business is keen on joining. We've seen businesses face supply chain issues recently, and it takes away that through the plastic containers. We've seen businesses in terms of the profit margin around food to go, this takes away any expense on the packaging. And so over a number of years, some of the calculations that we've looked at are quite significant depending on the number of food to go containers that they do sell. So we're trying to make it very much about a business and their actual business model and changing that for the better. Also the environment, as well as a community of businesses coming together to join Rogue to Go. So there's lots more info on rogue2go.com. We have an Instagram account at Rogue to Go. And I would be happy to talk to anyone or any restaurants you think might be interested in joining us as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Bex. Erin O'Kelly-Muck, you want to share quickly your business?
That sounds great. Hello, my name is Erin O'Kelly-Muck, and I run a web design agency in Ashland. And let's see, I've been involved with SOCAN for about 2 years now, started with their Master Climate Protection Program. And the web industry is as much of a carbon polluter as the airline industry. If you can just imagine all of those computer servers humming around the world, plugged into the walls, and the energy that it takes to keep them going 24/7. So in my business, that's something that we try to offset. I offset it with carbon offsets every year. I do it for myself and I do it for all the contractors who work for me. So that's one way that I can help. And I also bring awareness to it via social media, because I don't think a lot of people know about that. They know about, flying, but not necessarily about the web hosting piece of it. So just in various ways, I kind of bring that to the table as the business owner, and I work with my team on projects that we're all passionate about, whether it is litter pickup, whether it's eco challenges, website development. Obviously that comes pretty easy to us. So anyways, just trying to reach out, connect, educate, inspire, and really excited to be a part of this. I want to say, Constance, Anne, and Erin, just listening to you all speak, I'm like, that's going to be me in 3 years from now. So thank you guys for being so inspiring.
Thank you, Erin. So I think we're going to go to the wrap up here and share some things about SOCAN, and hope that through the presentation and as we do this, that you are thinking about things that you can be doing to work towards combating climate change. So as I said in the beginning, we have some links, especially from Aaron Douglas, on different B Corp information and things like that. If you go to socan.eco/action and then look for the link to the pages, Businesses Assuming Responsibility. I'm going to very quickly share some things that are coming up for SOCAN. And if you miss details, everything is on the SOCAN calendar. So that's socan.eco/events. SOCAN is divided into different programs with projects. Then under those programs, our program areas are education, government, natural resources, transportation, and community engagement. Under the education program, we are making plans for our 2022 Master Climate Protector. We'll start on February 9th. We're changing to a Wednesday evening. We're still not sure if we're going to be in person or on Zoom. So still working on that and just waiting for some time to pass. Under the government program, we have the federal and state project. That group will meet on Monday, the 11th from 2 to 3:30. And the Zoom link is on the SOCAN calendar. So again, that's socan.eco/events. The government program would like to encourage you. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to make comments on DEQ's climate protection program, their draft rules. The comments, if you're going to submit written, have to be in by Monday, October 4th at 4 p.m. If you go to socan.eco/cpp-comments, then you'll find that information, how to submit, and on ideas on what to write. The feeling is that this is a nice start, but it's not enough. And we really need comments encouraging them to do more than what they're doing. Especially comments coming from people in rural Oregon, which is all of us except for Carrie, who's on the East Coast. Another government program is the County and City Project. That will meet on Thursday, October 28th. Again, it's a Zoom meeting and the information is on the calendar. Ashland Climate Action Project is not going to have a monthly meeting in October. They're going to help support the SOCAN general meeting, which is on community solar options. Under the Natural Resources Program, the Forest and Fire Project will meet on Wednesday, October 20th, and details are on the calendar. Under community engagement, the monthly meeting, always the last Tuesday of the month, that'll be Tuesday, October 26th from 6 to 7. The topic is update on grassroots community solar projects you can plug into. And we will have Ray Sanchez Pescador from Solarized Rogue and Jim Hartman with Ashland Solar Cooperative, giving people ideas if they live in Ashland or if they're not in Ashland, things that they can do. Businesses taking action. These are the list. This is the list of the current people, businesses that are listed, and we appreciate the 3 that were willing to speak this evening and share what they're doing. Hope you will identify other businesses and encourage them to take part in this project. There are other projects that don't have meetings scheduled in education, transportation, natural resources, and community engagement. If you're interested in those, you can go to the website and get the person to contact. Would like to encourage people to help SOCAN with their strategic planning. Our meeting is going to be in November, and we would like people who are active in SOCAN, but also people who are maybe not super active to share their thoughts about things that SOCAN can do as we look into the next year. So that'll be a Zoom meeting, and it's on the calendar, November 10th. Other activities, we have updated the website and would encourage you to go to socan.eco, look at the website. If you have comments or suggestions, please send them to me. We are always adjusting what's there and would appreciate knowing what it looks like to you as you go to the website. A couple things from other groups. 350 Deschutes, these are our friends in Bend. They're having their 2021 Go Clean Energy Conference. It's October 5th through 7th. Each day it's noon to 5. And you need to register for this. You can go to SOCAN's Facebook and there's a link there, or to SOCAN's calendar, and get information about this conference that they're holding. The Pollinator Project Rogue Valley is having a native plant sale for the pollinators Sunday, this coming Sunday, 10 to 3 at their office in Phoenix. And if you go to SOCAN's Facebook, you'll see a link to their project as well as on their Facebook page. ROCPAC, Rural Oregon Climate Political Action Committee, is always out there trying to give climate issues a voice and always appreciates our support. SOCAN is also a supporter of the We Care project, which is led by ORD2 Indivisible. This is a community-based project that delivers snacks and notes of thanks to healthcare workers in our local hospitals. If you go to their Facebook page, ORD2 Indivisible, then you can get details, or you can send me an email if you're interested in helping this effort. A big thanks to all our presenters tonight, Gabriela for her idea that started this, for Constance, Ann, and Aaron sharing what you're doing, and hopefully pushing us all along to take more steps to be more sustainable. Thanks to Ellie for doing the Q&A, always appreciated. It helps a lot to have someone scanning those questions. And thanks to all of you for joining us. We appreciate the people who are here and encourage you to support businesses that are exhibiting environmental and social justice. These are important things to look for in our communities, and to give them your support. And if you go to the website and see a business and go there, tell them you saw it on the SOCAN website. Finally, a survey was sent to you in an email. And so if you can respond, it should take you less than 5 minutes. We'd appreciate the feedback. SOCAN website is socan.eco. Any questions, if you have our own emails, you can send them to us, or info@socan.eco. And if you have the means to donate, SOCAN keeps going on donations from people like you. So I'd like to thank you all very much for being here tonight, for the presenters taking the time to put their presentations together. It's really important that we support each other and all do what we can. So we'll stay around for a couple minutes, but we'll end the recording. And thank you again very much. We appreciate it.